If you're a long-time Sims fan, you probably remember how in the Sims 2 days, the Sims team put a lot of thought into the families that came with the base game. All the pre-made families had memories, backstories, family ties, ties with different families in the neighborhoods. I remember as a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to go into different households and just snoop around and learn everything there was about them. Then we come to present day Sims 4, where not even the families that are supposed to have family ties do sometimes. But this is not that kind of a video. I'm actually a big Sims 4 player, but I'm also very nostalgic. So for a while now, I've been recreating my favorite Sims 2 neighborhood, Veronaville. Yes, it is the one with the weird Shakespearean characters. But let me tell you, this neighborhood is where the Sims team really popped off with their family trees. But before I get really into the specifics, let me introduce Veronaville for those of you who are maybe not super familiar with it. Veronaville is one of the base game neighborhoods that come with The Sims 2, and it is supposed to be their European inspired neighborhood, and as so, The Sims team ran with a Shakespearean theme. The neighborhood bio reads, "The Capps and Monties have been feuding for years, but that hasn't stopped the younger generation from crossing boundaries and falling in love. Will their actions lead to ruin or bring the families together?" So, of course, the main Sims in this neighborhood are Romeo and Juliet, who are two teenagers who have fallen in love despite their families being rivals. But the neighborhood itself only comes with three families: the Capps, who are supposed to be the Capulets, the Monties, who are supposed to be the Montagues, and the Summer Dream family, who are actually inspired by the characters in A Midsummer Night's Dream. They are a neutral family in the field, and they are actually friends with both of the sides. However, I have a feeling they only made three main families because they spent all their efforts really going into the Capps and the Monties, but especially the Capps, who are to this date the biggest Sims family ever, with 42 Sims. 42 Sims in one single family tree. 13 of which are actually playable, and 29 deceased Sims. This is the first and only time the Sims team made 5 generations of a family, I believe, in one single game at least. And I think this adds so much depth and interest to this family. I'm sure this took them a long time to achieve as well. Actually, I know because I decided to do this myself. It all started with this build right here, the Capp Manor. At first, I only created the playable Capps, of course, because why would I need all of their ancestors walking around? But when I started building the house, which is a version of the original Sims 2 Capp Manor, I got to their graveyard and I realized it's not really fun to have an empty family graveyard. The whole point of having a home graveyard in this game is to have the memories of the ancestors and, most importantly, to see their ghosts messing up the whole place. Kind of unrelated, but as a kid, I remember I was terrified of the Sims 2 ghosts because they could actually kill your Sims. And I remember once Juliet died because they kept scaring her, so yeah. So the first thing I did was to look up which Sims are actually in the Capp Manor, right? Because these are the ghosts that I wanted to see. So I found that we had a total of 9 ghosts. So we have Cleopatra, Antony, Calpurnia, Julius, Scribonia, Octavius, Caliban, Cordelia, and Contessa. So I was like, okay, 9 Sims. I can create 9 Sims. It's not gonna be that hard. And I did that. I created the 9 Sims. And I made the mistake of looking into the family tree, and I saw how asymmetrical it looked, with one side having ancestors and the other not. So I just said, screw it, let's make all 29. And that's how we got here. I finally did it, all 42 Capps in all of their Sims 4 glory. You can't actually see all 42 of them right now because in order to see the parents of the spouses, you have to click on them and kind of moving around. I want to go through some of them with you guys and give you some of the Capp family lore. So buckle up cuz it's a wild one. So as I've said in the beginning, the main plot in Veronaville surrounds two teenagers, Romeo and Juliet. And Juliet Capp actually has two siblings, Tybalt and Hermia, and the three of them are the children of Caliban and Cordelia Capp. However, when you start playing the game, they actually are living with their grandfather, Consort Capp, because both of their parents died in a fire when they were children. Of course, the main theory is that the fire was caused by the Montes because of the feud between the families, which is horrible, of course. So the three of them became orphans when they were children, and they were raised by their grandparents, Consort and Contessa. And Contessa has actually also passed away in the beginning of the game. In The Sims 2, she's not marked as deceased here in my family tree because in The Sims 4, for me, she is still alive. Now, one thing that I found interesting about Cordelia Capp is that according to her family's memories, she is meant to be the youngest of four siblings, but her family tree in The Sims 2 actually has her as the first in line, meaning she would be the oldest. I always found it strange that she is the youngest, yet she has three teenage children while her older brother Kent just became an adult at the start of the game. There's a lot of age and memory confusion in Veronaville, so this doesn't really surprise me. But in my game, I like to pretend Cordelia is the oldest because that would mean she was supposed to be the main Capp heir, which leads me to my next point. Unlike almost every other family in The Sims history, the Capp family is actually a matriarchal family, meaning that when the Capp women get married, their husbands get their family name. So Consort Capp is actually not a Capp by blood, but he got the Capp family name by marrying Contessa Capp. Consort is actually from the Thebe family, which is a surname you may find familiar, as they are also present in The Sims 4, notably by Princess Cordelia Thebe. Yes, Consort is canonically related to Princess Cordelia. We have confirmation of this since we find out with the My Wedding Stories expansion pack that Princess Cordelia is related to Arnessa Thebe. And if you do the grapevine gossip interaction, Arnessa might actually tell you about her aunt, Queen, and uncle Ethion, who, as we can see, are Consort's grandparents. So we could possibly extend this family tree on Consort's side and make it even bigger, but there's no information on who Arnessa's parents are, as we don't do ancestors anymore in The Sims 4. But let's come back to our family tree. Another thing of note when we look at all of the Capp ancestors like this is that, like Cordelia and Caliban, a lot of them had untimely deaths. It was recently confirmed in an interview with Jonathan Knight, a lead producer in The Sims 2, that they made a lot of them die young as adults to imply that they kept killing each other off in the ongoing vendetta. This is a really interesting interview. I'm definitely gonna leave a link to it in the description if anyone else is interested in the production of The Sims 2. But this feud is so intense that even the parents of the Sims who married into the Capp family were not safe. As we can see, Cornwell Capp and Albany Capp are both playables who married into the Capp family very recently, and both of their parents also died as adults, supposedly as a result of this rivalry. I don't know why you would marry into a family knowing your parents and children would be in danger, but I guess the Capps are so rich, a lot of people would sign their souls away to become one of them. And considering that, it is interesting that despite so many of the Capps dying young, Contessa and Consort did survive until their elder years. Especially because if we look into some of the family memories, we can kind of understand that the family feud started with Consort and Contessa. We can actually track the beginning of all of this to Contessa's and Consort's relationship to Patricio Monti, who is the patriarch of the Monti family at the beginning of the game. Growing up, the three of them were actually all good friends. And what is even more surprising is that Contessa Capp and Patricio Monti were dating as teenagers. And at the same time, Consort, who was then Consortib, not a capp, was Patricio's best friend. Consort's personal bio in The Sims 2 even states that the two of them were business associates at some point. So, what went wrong? Well, two in-game photos suggest that Consort perhaps had some feelings about Patricio's and Contessa's relationship, which eventually led to a fight between the boys. Their business relationship was eventually broken, and Patricio even has the memory of being fired from the business career. And in the middle of all that, Contessa left Patricio to marry Consort. It is unclear if they fought because Consort and Contessa were getting together, or if the fight led Contessa to marry Consort. I have my own theories of what actually happened between the three of them, but this could become a whole different video. So these are all just theories based on what we can actually see from their memories in the game, but it is understood that this is what started the Capp and Monty feud. This would mean that instead of the three of them who started it all just killing each other off, they went on to kill their parents, their children. I guess they do really hate each other, because I feel like killing your family but keeping you alive to see it all is so much worse. But let's not get too deep into that. Okay, we're finally here back in the game. Since we have so many Sims in this family tree, I would like to, instead of going through every single one of them, to show you some of my favorite ones, because yes, I do have favorite ancestors, and they're mostly the ones buried here in the Capp Manor, so I guess we can go through them here before I send them back to their graves. So of course we already have Cordelia resting beautifully here in her urn. We also have a space reserved for Contessa, but it's not her time yet. It's close, but it's not her time. Honestly, I wish I could sit down with the producer who created the Capp ancestors and ask them why. Why did they do the genetic choices that they did? And no, I'm not just being mean and trying to call them ugly. The thing is, in the other neighborhoods, most of the ancestors had templates for faces, so they had kind of standard looking faces, because surely that was easier for them to do. But in Veronaville, most of them have very unique facial features, and at some point this has to have been a deliberate choice. Some of them actually have broken faces, like their genetics are legit broken and will glitch out if you try to revive them. There's a really good video by Tenic Sims 2 that goes into this, and I will link it in the description if you want to see all the broken faces in their Sims 2 glory. But I have to mention a few of my favorite ghosts because they are iconic. So in this household right now, we actually have 6 ghosts. We have Cleopatra and Anthony, who are the oldest Capps. They are Contessa's grandparents, actually. We have their daughter, Scribonia Capp. We have her husband, Octavius. And we have Octavius' parents, Julius Caesar and Calpurnia Caesar. And I think these two, despite not being Capps, are the top 2 in my heart. First of all, let me introduce you Julius Caesar. The first time I saw his ghost in The Sims 2, I laughed so hard. Because what do you mean? What do you mean you made a sim with the name Julius Caesar, who was this Roman dictator, military leader, and then the sim is balding and wearing this goofy bow tie? I don't know why, but it just tickles me so much. So he has a very dear place in my heart. He always had. Maybe number 1. Actually, he might not be number 1, because next in line we have Calpurnia Caesar, who is his wife. And when I tell you, I had nightmares of this sim as a kid. Her ghost in The Sims 2 is so scary, and I do think she has kind of an unfortunate look to her. But when I found out that if you resurrect her in The Sims 2, and for some reason age her down to an adult, she has this long hanging tooth, I knew then. I knew I was right in fearing her as a kid. Also, if she gets pregnant and have a female child, this could happen to them. This is apparently a Sims 2 phenomenon with corrupt genetics, which I don't know enough about to explain. Again, I really recommend watching 10x Sims 2 videos, but I just had to mention it because it made me giggle when I first saw it. And another thing, the first thing that Calpurnia did when I placed her in this household was to start a fire and almost burn my house down. So she's iconic, she's a legend, and she's the moment. Another notable ancestor is this sim. This is Priyan Albion. He is consort's capp grandfather, and I like that he kind of looks like Abraham Lincoln. I did exaggerate his head just slightly in The Sims 4, but I also saw this photo of him in the Sims wiki of what he looks like without a beard, and yeah, let's just say he earned his spot as one of the favorites. Another one of my favorite ancestors for similar reasons is actually Cornwall's capp grandmother. She's called Lady Scott, and she's actually the last sim that I created in The Sims 4, and I was very surprised by her looks. Yeah, isn't she just amazing? This is Lady Scott, and she's probably one of my new favorites. Not above Calpurnia, but pretty close. I just realized they're both wearing pigtails. Interesting. Now I want to show you some honorable mentions due to their funny names. We have Hamlet Dane Jr. and Tobia Dane. The Sims wiki says her name is a play on the famous "to be or not to be" line, and I think that's hilarious if that's the case. And if you are familiar with The Tempest, the play by Shakespeare, we also have Sycorax, who is married to Prospero, and their child is Caliban, and I think that's a wild choice. Personally, I would have thrown in Ariel in the mix too, but that's fine. So this is it. I have created this huge family tree. They all have their family ties, and all that's left to do now is to send them back to their graves so they can have their beautiful rest. I guess this can be a mini tutorial on how to turn the ghosts you make in Create a Sim back into non-playable ghosts, and the only way I found to do this easily is through cheats. So first you need to Ctrl+Shift+C and enter testing cheats on. Then, and this is very important, you need to place their graveyards in the lot first, because if they are in their inventory, you're gonna lose their graves. So let's do that. Okay, so we have all 7 of them, and I'm gonna fix all their graves after I do this. So what we're gonna do is actually very simple. We just need to shift click on the ghosts and then remove them from our family, and voila, she is gonna go back to her grave. Eventually she might chill around a little bit. I think she already went. Yeah, another thing is that if you're having trouble with the option to remove from family showing up, this happened to me before. What is going on in here? Anyways, what happened to me before is that this option wasn't showing up, and I found out that it was because of MC Command Center. If you have more than 8 Sims in the household as the limit, sometimes the remove option just disappears, but if you put it back to 8, it comes back. So, oh, this is the last one. This is Octavius, and he's sleeping so peacefully. Let's remove him from the family. And there he is. And don't worry, they're not gone from this world. They're actually all just in their graves. And if you want to, you can call forth the ghosts and they will come. It's very simple. So this is it. This has been my journey of recreating the biggest Sims family in history. The capps are so iconic. Veronaville in general is iconic. And I can't believe people don't talk about it nearly as much as they do the other Sims 2 neighborhoods. But if you're interested in their story, definitely stick around and subscribe to the channel, because I do plan on making a Veronaville Let's Play sometime soon. I am currently building the house for the Monties, and I guess now I need to do the Monties ancestors too, huh? Well, anyways, thank you so much for watching to this point, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.